Welcome back to another episode of Dentistry's Growing with Grace podcast. Join Grace and her guest of the week as they discuss lessons learned in the industry and explore unique insights into ethical growth.
Hello and welcome back to Dentistry's Growing with Grace. I am so excited to have my friend Dr. Dave here with me today from Relentless Dentist. Hi, Dr. Dave.
Hey, how are you?
Good, very good. I know we collaborated recently on your podcast, so I'm excited to be kind of flipping the script a little bit and getting to interview you and pick your brain a little bit.
Well, that was such a fun conversation. And it just, as we record this, released yesterday, and I'm already getting great feedback on it. I think it dispels a lot of myths in the marketplace about what is marketing, how is it done well, why should it not be an expense, as we were talking offline. So I really appreciate the value that you gave to my listeners, and I look forward to doing the same for you.
I'm sure you will. And so if anyone wants to hear that episode, they can look up your podcast. Where would they go to find that?
Everything's hosted on relentlessdentist.com. If you're an iTunes user, you can subscribe on iTunes. It seems like that's typical. I use Stitcher, but it's just Relentless Dentist. It's been a labor of love for 8 years now, so you'll find that and a lot more value there.
Awesome. Wonderful. All right, so I'm going to jump right into my questions here, and I especially enjoy the first one. Why do dental practice owners rely on carrot and stick motivation strategies with their team? And first, you have to tell me what that means.
So a lot of my research right now is on employee engagement. I think it's the big epidemic that I'm seeing as I talk to clients, prospective clients, dentists who just want to chat about their issues. It seems to be the solution that cures a lot of the symptoms that we're treating, right? And at the core of that is that a lot of the things that I was told in the management literature are external motivators, essentially answering the question, how do we get more out of our people? What's a better checklist look like? What's a better bonus system look like? Do I need a performance improvement plan to light a fire under them so that they know that their job is in jeopardy? All of these things have a place, but yet we've missed the whole boat of like, how do we put somebody in their zone of genius and turn them into a leader of their zone, whether it be op one as a hygienist or the phones. That's when people really come alive. And if you can create that environment of internal motivators, then you become a magnet of more talent. So you can stop complaining about, I don't have the cash flow, I'm too overwhelmed. These people, if orchestrated in a proper manner, and you have to think of yourself as a conductor, can really help lessen that burden, improve the satisfaction of your patients because they're not waiting on you. You've delegated a lot of that autonomy, and ultimately that drives value, which drives what all dentists want, is more time and more profits. So
this is like dangling.
That's the barrier.
This is like, don't just dangle the carrot. Is that what this means?
Yeah. So carrot and stick is essentially like the old school, like enslavement. You would either beat them with the stick and you would motivate them out of fear, or that you'd incentivize them by putting the carrot in front of the mule or whoever was pulling the cart, right? So we still do that. It just looks much different than carrot and stick, and it's external motivators, which really drive fear. And a scared employee tends to do less, and we want them to do more. So that has limiting returns, but if you want long-term benefits, that strategy has to be secondary.
So it's when owners make comments like, well, the incentive is you get to keep your job. Like that would fall into this mentality, right?
Exactly. And the majority of employees right now are looking for another job. And this is why, because they hope that they'll find a home that values who they are, that doesn't have this glass ceiling, that doesn't require them to do, we call it dentistry, but in a lot of cases it's assembly line work. It's, I checked the box, I seated the patient, I placed the topical, I notified doctor, and you've deprived them of what it is to be a human. And in that dehumanizing thing, they all of a sudden feel like, okay, I'm just here for the paycheck. And eventually when the paycheck isn't enough, they try and find another paycheck that's $1 more. So this is the culture, this is the normal. But if you pull yourself out of that matrix, so to speak, and create a better environment, and I feel like dentistry obviously needs to have clinical excellence, but if we make this just as important, creating a great place to work, then you can attract the best talent. If you attract the best talent and empower the best talent, then you get a lot of that stress and strain, a lot of that friction that shows up as drama and gossip goes away, and you can have the business that you dreamed of having. But without that, you can't pull it off. And I'm not here to judge, because I was that doctor for half of my career, thinking, because I grew up on a farm and I was speak when spoken to, listen to my elders, and I tried that same sort of thing in dentistry, and it just doesn't work. And
I want to speak to that. It's not even just dentistry that it doesn't work. It doesn't work with this generation, period, in any business.
I think that we can put people in assembly line and they'll do that for 8 hours for 40 years, but that whole model has been disrupted, right? Like who keeps a job for 30 years? Most people have a handful of careers in their lifetime. So to think that old game, that industrial age game can be played in the information age and you will win, is a complete delusion.
Mm-hmm. So what are some things that people can change in their leadership mentality to get them out of this mindset so that they can start attracting employees who are invested and excited to contribute?
I think the first thing is we have to break this one size fits all type paradigm, right? So we as dentists, a general dentist, you can do lots of different procedures. A leader in and of itself has to wear lots of different hats. The hat I was talking about that I used to wear all the time was this authoritarian hat. I sign your paychecks, therefore you shall blah, 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 right? And that works until it doesn't work. And the other ones are facilitator. Like one of the things that I'm really passionate about is psychological safety, which sounds like a fluffy word, but if people are going to thrive in an environment, their voice needs to matter and they need to have a voice. And so you will have wallflowers, you'll have people that will complain in the back room, but not tell it to your face. In a group format, you have to be able to pull out the truths and the ideas and the frustrations out of everyone, and then utilize those ideas. That starts them to step in to realize like, oh, I own this zone here. Like I can make decisions. I don't have to be frustrated that I have to plug my sensor in 5 times to make it work. I can call the person and have it repaired so that I'm fully functional all day long. I have that autonomy. I have the ability to grow in my skill sets and mindsets, but it all starts with a leader who is willing to help facilitate, support, and challenge someone to evolve to more levels.
I love that. And I want to comment on that really quick. Just yesterday, I said to my project manager, I was like, Emma, Alex is an accommodating personality. She's like 99th percentile in accommodating, and she's a fabulous designer. I said, but if she has too much on her plate, she's not going to voice it. So we have to be proactive in asking her on a regular basis, do you need us to move some deadlines? Do we need to manage some expectations with people? We have to kind of be her voice, and we have to fill that piece because that's not her personality. And Emma was like, okay. And I could see her taking notes that she's going to make sure she, has her designers back and I'm not like this great leader. I've just learned the hard way. Like I've had this personality type that I thought was so happy that quit out of the blue with no warning. And I was totally blindsided. I think one of the biggest mistakes we make as leaders is we assume that because we would speak up and we would facilitate a conversation because we're bold, we're entrepreneur, we're business owners. We've learned to have those hard conversations. We expect other people to operate the way we operate, and it's wildly unrealistic. And so your leadership, I think what I hear you saying is this is like an individualized leadership. You have to realize that there's no one right way to lead people. You're dealing with people, and we all have different motivators. We have different personalities. And so great leaders learn how to listen to their employees and learn what they need. Does that kind of go along with what you're saying, or am I way off?
100%. Like again, everything that I learned the hard way from the School of Hard Knocks until the pain was so undeniable that I had to find a better path. And like, for example, I'll give you a story that relates to the story you said. I had a rock star hygienist. She helped me build the organization. But every single time I would try and delegate to her, she would like pepper me in questions. Like, and my story was Andrea doesn't want the extra work, and she is going to sabotage this baton handoff 100% of the time. Until I understood her Colby, which is high fact finder. She needs all of that data. I'm a low fact finder. So to your point, I was treating her in the golden rule. I was giving her what I needed, and it was ineffective. I needed to upgrade the golden rule and give her what she needed, because she would short circuit. Like, she literally couldn't function in the environment I was giving her. And then when I understood, like, oh, I can turn that into a superpower because she complements where I'm not as strong. And
That's
I did
my
that
writer.
with people again and again, and you see them come alive when you keep them in their zone of genius and you appreciate who they are and that they have unique abilities that aren't like yours, and they shouldn't be.
That's exactly my relationship with my writer. And I'm still learning how to give her what she needs, but she's brilliant and she's detail oriented. But if she doesn't get the details and the descriptions and the outlines that she needs, she's almost paralyzed by it. And I'm someone who I'm like, just give me the goal and I'll figure out all the rest. I'll just go. And so you're right now, you're going, okay, I know these Colby personalities. I know exactly what you're talking about. It happens all the time. So talk to me a little bit about what is psychological safety and why is this so important?
I think going back to that discussion of industrial age, like, we kept a lot of people trapped in fear. And then the information age, they have access to the same information you have. They know what other hygienists are making. They can do a search in 5 seconds, understand, like, I'm undercompensated or I'm undervalued, or you can look at Google reviews and it may say, this team seems so happy to be at work, right? So you can't keep people in the bubble. For example, like in my hometown, Lexington, Nebraska, in the 1980s, you're keeping up with the Joneses was 1 or 2 people. Now keeping up with the Joneses is like 100 people or 1,000 people. It's an Instagram scroll. So your people are intelligent and they know what's going on. And you can't just say, this is a great place to work, appreciate it. You have to show them the things that they want. And the first thing to do is break them out of that fear zone of like, oh my gosh, is this meeting mean I'm in trouble? Oh my gosh, I can't make mistakes because doctor thinks that if it needs to be done right, it has to be done by them. All of these things we build into this institution because we're highly driven, we're very precise, we live most of our life in millimeters and microns, and then we project that on somebody. And if you were to go in some other environment that wasn't clinical dentistry and your margin of error was half of a millimeter, you arrive because that to learn something, you have to be bad at it, get the reps, and eventually be good at it. So psychological safety means I matter, my opinion matters. You and I have a future together, even if I make mistakes. And you can jujitsu it, so to speak, and say, like, I encourage you to make mistakes of ambition. As long as it's in line with the mission, as long as it doesn't undermine your team members, it supports the practice and the patients, then you may not make the same decision that I do, but I encourage you to make it even when you're reluctant, because that's how we learn and grow around here. And if you make a mistake, you learn from that mistake and we still win. So that to me is psychological safety. And that's the core environment, the foundation that's needed for people to thrive in any place, workplace, home, wherever. If there's this air of like volatility or I might get in trouble or my idea is a dumb idea, so I won't voice it, you've completely undermined the capability of your most important asset, which is you and the people on your payroll.
Yeah, I want to do something a little bit unconventional here, and I want to flip this.
Okay.
I think it's important. And this is just a personal opinion backed by no research whatsoever, but I think it's important that employees realize that their employer also wants psychological safety. And if you show up and you're kind of you have this constant tone where, well, I can just go work there, I can just go work there. Yeah. It's harder for your employer to provide that safety for you if you're unwilling to provide that. I'll call it commitment in a sense. If you've got one foot out the door all the time, your employer can feel that, and it affects the entire nature of the team. What do you say to that? Have you witnessed this? Have you seen this?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it just takes one, like you said, like the chemistry experiment can be this beautiful thing, and then you add the wrong team member, or sometimes their lives go sideways and they bring that into the workplace. But I think that's a very important point that I missed, is that it has to go both ways. I would tell my team, I want you to know that I have your back, but in return, I want to know that. I don't want to question it. I don't want to wonder. I want to know that when I'm out of the room, that you have my back, that you're telling patients how we really serve them, and what we're all about. And so it takes time. If you're trying to turn this aircraft carrier that's heading in one direction around, it takes time. But the objective is that that's felt amongst all people, that there's not friction. Like in a lot of dental offices, there's friction between the front office and the back office. That can't happen. You have to help people to see that their job is not an island. It's not just about your schedule. It all has to be this integrated thing that in the end looks like an orchestra, not one overpowering the other. They're all important. And that the conductor, the owner, is busier than anyone. So how can you take work and worry off their plate so that when it's your time for the hygiene check or your time for your patient to be seen, that you get all of that doctor, and they're not getting undue burden of so-and-so's on the phone. Oh, we just got a 1-star review. Like all of that takes a toll. And a dentist who's an entrepreneur, a leader, potentially a parent, and wants to be a great clinician, they lost who they were by noon. So I think that's an important point for team members, is that it's an exchange. It's a trust-based environment, but a lot of times you have to give before you get. That's the mistake that I always felt like, oh, you'll get the bonus when you perform at the higher level. But there's a little bit of a trust fall that has to happen in there, that like, we just perform as a team because that's the right thing to do. Even when there's egos and friction in the workplace, somebody has to take that first step. And I think you pointed that out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's got to eventually come from both sides, or it won't last, and it won't
Right.
feed into the positive energy of the team. So what are the 9 profit activators you discuss in your book, Dentist on a Mission?
So I think in frameworks, very simple, like a dental procedure, like how do, if leading a dental practice was a procedure, what would be the steps? Etch, prep, etch, bond would be a dental procedure. In this case, it all has to start with a leader. And I think that's the thing that we're talking about here, is that you in some ways have to step into that identity fully. You can't be this practice owner who's a great clinician that leadership gets what's left over. Building and orchestrating the team is number one. So the first focal point is this embodiment. How am I showing up? How am I a role model for my team on what happens when a day goes sideways? What happens when we're running behind? All of these sorts of things. If you're not emulating what you want, you can forget about them caring more about it than you do. So those 3 things that are clarity, energy, and courage. Those would be the first 3.
Okay.
And once the leader respects that their most important.
Give me those 3 again, because you cut out just a little bit.
Clarity. What do I want? Why do I want it? Mission, vision. They have to be very articulate in that and sell that to their team. The second is energy. Dentistry is an endurance game for all the reasons I just pointed out. You're wearing lots of hats. You have lots of demands. And I don't know any dentists who like want to lower the bar. They want to achieve at the highest level. So you have to make sure that you protect how you're showing up. On Monday morning is just important as the end of the week, say it be Thursday afternoon. So knowing that it's an endurance game and we can't run it like a sprint. So we have to take care of you as the leader so that we can do this for 20 or 30 years. The third one is courage. I think that's a hard one for dentists typically, because in clinical dentistry, we are not rewarded for taking risks. We use tried and true systems that work every time. And then when it fails for some unforeseen reasons, occlusal forces, we still own it. We still beat ourselves up for it. But leadership and business ownership do encourage taking risks, calculated risks. And I feel like a lot of times we like, as dentists, we ready, aim, 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 and then we're still thinking about it, that
Oh
marketing,
man.
that new hire. And that's completely plateauing, if not downgrading your business.
It takes people sometimes 3 years from meeting me to working with me.
Yeah.
3 years. And then they're like,
Yeah.
I should have done this years ago. I'm like, I know. You said that the first time we talked. I see that aim, aim, aim thing. I love that. So,
I think it's an appreciation that what serves me as a dentist may be completely undermining my ability to lead team and grow a business, and literally taking off one hat and putting on the other and saying this requires different skill sets.
they are very different skill sets. When you're, focused on your clinical skills, there is so much detail and it's so much attention to detail and procedural. And then when you're in this management, you have to be able to take that high level view and be able to diagnose without going right into the clinical work. You've got to be able to delegate. So I'm curious, what keeps a dentist from delegating effectively?
And in short answer, it's perfectionism, which is code for fear. They're afraid that they're going to drop the ball. They're afraid that they're not going to bring the same attention to detail. And then we just keep spinning more and more plates. Like dentists who don't delegate some of the diagnosis frame to a hygienist. The hygienist has all of that time with a captive audience. If that patient is waiting for the 7 minutes they get with you, one, it undermines trust completely, because that patient feels that, okay, this hygienist is nothing more than a gum gardener, here to scrape calculus. But you also know when you're in the presence of somebody who's been empowered, that sees all of the problems and can talk to me knee to knee about these problems. So that would be one example of like getting somebody off. I think of it as line cooks or chefs. Line cooks, like, I answer the phone. This is what I say. This is the script. Would you like an appointment? Goodbye. If you keep somebody in that box, you cannot complain that they don't think outside the box. But generally speaking, we built that box, and it's a box of perfectionism. And we're, again, like we were using the metaphor, we're treating our people like a tooth. We're isolating them. We have 4 steps. This is how you do it every time. Check all the boxes, then inform me when the patient is ready. It's not how people thrive. And even if they feel like I'm getting a good paycheck, that over time will take a toll and create stress and strain, and they'll go looking for something different, even if it's not better. So
people need to use their God-given talents to come up with solutions and contribute to the growth of the practice, is kind of what I hear you saying.
Yeah, I think most dental team members are probably playing at about 20%. Part of that's their doing, part of that's the environments they've been in the past, that's all they're allowed. But in my mind, my next book is going to be the no follower rule, where everyone in the organization is assumed to be a leader. And your job is leadership development, so that they can see the decision framework that should be made and work within those frameworks, so that they're empowering the patient. And it just gets rid of all of the friction. And then what does that do? Like, ultimately, it drives to the bottom line. One of my mentors helped me see that if we're just focused on the bottom line, we'll throttle back our people. But if we humanize the organization, there's no upper limit to the human potential, therefore no upper limit to the bottom line. So if we're really worried about profits, we'll put people in front of them.
Mm-hmm. So I'd imagine there was a turning point for you in your career where you had this aha moment, you figured it out, and then something happened where you're like, I need to help other people figure this out. Tell me about what got you into podcasting and coaching.
It's an interesting story. Like Steve Jobs says, the dots connect looking backwards, but they don't always connect going forward. I started my practice in 2009, terrible economy, left a perfectly good life in North Carolina, beautiful home. It was upside down at the time because of the economy. And I pursued this dream life in Vail, Colorado. So my vision was to have a vacation in my backyard. And So when we're moving here, found out my wife was pregnant, surprise, right? So no cash, another mouth to feed. And I opened the doors with this big dream. And on the first day, free consult showed up. That's it. His name was Ronnie. I still remember. Didn't convert the treatment. And I realized like
Sorry.
I bit off way more than I could chew. And so I had
In
to
my
learn.
mind, I have like a sad Dr. Dave sitting in his office, like no patience.
I
But that's
remember
just
that.
this.
That's exactly what happened. That made the mountain closed. So the valley kind of purges a lot of its population. And I remember sitting at it was an afternoon and there were no patients and the phone wasn't ringing. And I picked up the phone to see if it was connected, like if it was working. And from that, I learned to be a really savvy marketer and a pretty strong business owner. But the thing that it took me a long time to learn was the people part. I was that workhorse growing up on a farm. I was that authoritarian leader of I sign your paycheck. I've given you a great place to work. Can't you see? And
It's so great.
yeah, and expected more buy-in than I was getting. And I was constantly just brute forcing everything. And 4 or 5 years into it, I was starting to get the revenue that I thought I should have, hit my targets. And my wife had a stroke. I found her face down on her laptop computer. And so that was like the tipping point, right? Like all the financial, all the emotional, all the team building, all the patient strain. And now I had a wife at home that like with a 3-year-old son that literally couldn't speak or walk. So that put me like in this deep, dark, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like I literally, it's been 5 years and I haven't breathed. I feel like I can't breathe. And so from that, I hit a moment where I was like, I'm not going to tell my son that this was a crash and burn. It's not going to play out like this. I have to find a better way. And that was the thing that clicked. Like, I have to figure out what the best people do, not in dentistry, but in the world. And so I just became maniacal about like human performance. What brings out the best in me? What brings out the best in other people? Because I can't just hustle and grind for another 5 years. And within 1 year, everything turned around. My sense of achievement, my sense of fulfillment. And the podcast kind of started in parallel there. I knew that was going to be a medium, and that turned into speaking and podcasting, coaching. And it really, now I'm in a place where my ripple effect is to me, much more impactful than the 2,000 patients and the 5 or 6 team members that were there, because I know that when I create a better leader, that creates better moms and dads at the end of the day. That creates a better patient experience. That creates a better business. So to me, like all of that pain was all now for a reason, but without it, I would never would have stumbled across this. I would have just continued to farm boy it and work dusk till dawn and do whatever it takes and put the load on my shoulders. But ultimately that would have broke me down. And I learned the lesson fairly early, and the outputs from that lesson, or that 5 years of pain, has been incredible for my life and now many other dental practices.
Do you still have moments where you have to put the business on your back, like circumstances, not where it's a normal part of your everyday or every week process? I just want to speak to that, because I think with some, younger docs that may be getting into things, I don't want them to take that phrase and think that they're never going to have to work past, 5 o'clock or whatever it is.
Right.
Do you still have those moments?
Totally. I think
no?
like that's the path of an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's the roller coaster. Sometimes it's like, this is so fun. Like, this is incredible. And other times it's like, I have to do literally whatever it takes. Like sometimes there's a mutiny on the team where you have to like release 2 or 3 team members. Like you have to preserve that mission and vision. And sometimes that means a bit of a battle on your hand and you have to collide. So yeah, there are times where it's not easy street. I think that's what we signed up for, is the freedom to have those breaks of time where I say, hey, listen, I'm not working this week, and I don't ask anyone. But with that comes the price of, I'm working twice as hard this week because a pipe broke, or there's a team dynamic that has to be sorted out, and I have to meet with each one of my team members individually. So to me, that's still the law of the farm. There's times where you're doing nothing but setting the water, but there's times when you're planting and harvesting, and you do whatever is required. ultimately, if you're an entrepreneur at heart, it's that freedom of the ability to decide and control your own destiny that's more important than the hours per day that you're investing.
That makes so much sense, and I can relate to that so much. I think sometimes when you talk to coaches and consultants, you get this, you walk away with this perfect thing, like, and it's not that. And part of the fun of building a business is that learning process. Imagine if you just stopped learning and you were just, I mean, you might as well retire. And I don't know how that's fun. I don't know how that's fun for people, because I would just be like, well, what am I going to do next? So, I mean, you have to kind of be in love or fall in love with learning and with growth. And I saw in the background on your poster, it says always be growing. And that's one of my core values as well. So I love to see that. So tell me a little bit about your coaching and, you know, what is an ideal client for you? And, you know, how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in that?
So my coaching program has a foundation of the science of high performance. We talked about a few of those things. The pillars are clarity, energy, courage, productivity, and influence. All of those have been baked into our conversation. If you can get people trending upward in their enterprise and those 5 pillars, they're unstoppable. And with the mindset of, we also are going to get our people trending upward as well, right? So either we're growing or dying, to reference your point. So we start to turn the practice owner into a true leader, and then we try and turn the people on their payroll into leaders as well, so that they're owning their zone. And then we get dentists into a point where they're doing CEO activities, dental license activities, and things that bring them joy. To me, that's a sustainable game. And that's the kind of boss that I would want to work for. Somebody who was really focused on what they were good at and didn't do anything with the things that they weren't good at, that they hired somebody that was good at those things. So most of my work is that. How do we create employee engagement so that they're thriving, so we can get work and worry off your plate? That takes a lot of autonomy, but it works all of the time because it's leveraging human nature. And it's all based in science and research, not my theory. And the other important point is that it isn't this like 3 months highlight reel. Like, it requires some heavy lifting. It requires killing off some old notions and old identities where I'm everything to everyone, because in a lot of dental practice owners, what got them from startup to $1 million is a completely different skill set that's going to allow them to grow and create the time freedom and the financial freedom. So it works for wherever you're at, but we have to assess and customize. I would first start with the book, Dentist on a Mission. You can receive a free copy at book.relentlessdentist.com. If that message resonates with you, then it might be a good fit. They can hop on a call with me by just sending me an email, dr.dave@relentlessdentist.com. Not a sales pitch. I want to work with dentists who are ready to grow and thrive and make sure that their practice is serving their life. If you're just chasing another $100,000 or 7 more locations, I'm probably not your guy. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, and I know how to make sure that you have a workplace that you enjoy going to, but you also enjoy leaving and spending time with your family, and they get all of you as well. So that's kind of my zone of expertise. I love what I do. I feel like I was born for this, and I feel like that School of Hard Knocks gave me a PhD in what I teach, so that I am really living what I lead. But that's kind of the gist of it.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much. I think the information you shared today is definitely going to create some questions and some conversations for people. And it's so helpful. So thank you.
Grace, it's an honor to be with you today. Thank you.
And for those of you listening, please check out our podcast. It's on gracerizza.com. And you can also follow us and join our Facebook group, Dentistry's Growing with Grace. And if you or someone you know has an interesting topic to share, send me an email, grace@identitydental.com. And until next time, have a great day.